Gibran Khalil Gibran, the third most-selling poet of all time. Gibran Khalil Gibran, a Lebanese poet, writer, artist, and essayist, was born in 1883 to a poor family. However, he lived a rich life after leaving his mark in various fields where he excelled. He became a leading figure among expatriate Arab poets and writers, making him one of the pioneers of the Arab Renaissance in the region. He passed away in 1931, leaving behind a rich legacy evidenced by the top libraries worldwide, embodied by the Gibran Museum established in Lebanon in his honor. He is considered the third most-selling poet in the world after William Shakespeare and the Chinese poet Lao Tzu. Early life and education. Gibran Khalil Gibran was born on January 6, 1883, in the town of Pshari in northern Lebanon. His upbringing was divided between his hometown in Lebanon and the city of Boston in the United States, where he immigrated with his family at the age of 13. Educational background. Gibran Khalil Gibran's educational path was influenced by his deprivation of formal education, continuous relocation with his family, and his strong desire to progress rapidly. At the age of 5, he joined a school known as Under the Chestnut Tree or the Elisha School in his hometown of Pshari, where he studied the basics of Syriac, French, and Arabic languages. In 1895, he immigrated with his family to Boston, where he attended a public school and learned the fundamentals of the English language. He also mastered drawing techniques in his new city. After 3 years, he returned to Lebanon for further studies, joining the Al-Hikmah Institute in the capital Beirut. There, he developed his knowledge and skills in the Arabic language. However, after 3 years, he returned to Boston. In 1908, he traveled to Paris, the capital of France, to study painting. In June of the same year, he joined the Julian Academy, where renowned artists like Henri Matisse, Pierre Bonnard, and Fernand Léger graduated from. He also attended lectures at the School of Fine Arts. In early February 1909, he met a new mentor described by Gibran as a great artist, a wonderful painter, and a Sufi, Pierre Marcel Béran. He frequented the Colarossi Academy specialized in drawing from models, although he preferred working alone in his studio, visiting exhibitions and museums, especially the Louvre Museum. He visited the Palace of Versailles and admired the Mona Lisa painting, sparking a new journey in painting celebrities, studying English, French, and German literary geniuses, developing his artistic techniques, and obtaining a license in painting, late 1910. He stayed in Paris for about 2 years, then returned to New York in 1911, marking a fruitful and pivotal creative period in his life as an artist. Diverse experiences. Despite his constant movement between Lebanon and the United States, 1895 to 1908, Gibran mastered Arabic and English languages, excelled in writing with both, and delved into literature, history, philosophy, painting, and more. He co-founded the Al-Manara magazine in Lebanon at the beginning of 1900 with the artist Yusuf al-Hawik, editing it together for 2 years. He also managed to penetrate intellectual and cultural elite circles in Boston and New York in the United States, as well as in Paris, 1908 to 1911, which were intellectual and cultural hubs during his time, enriching his experiences greatly. Literary experience. Gibran Khalil Gibran's modern Arabic literature was greatly influenced by his writings, introducing a new expressive school and being a symbol of the modern Arab literature renaissance, especially in prose poetry. His literary experience presented several features. Diverse style, using various methods to express his thoughts, such as short stories, parables, and contemplative styles. Romantic tendency against capitalism, making him one of its Arab pioneers. Symbolic tendency, using hints to express inner feelings, filling most of his works with symbols, myths, and imagination. Humanitarian tendency, placing human and humanitarian values above all, making him one of the pioneers known as the Pen League writers. Authorship experience. Gibran began his journey with the music, written in Arabic in 1905, and concluded it with 2 books published after his death, The Wanderer in 1932 and The Prophet in 1933. He authored a total of 18 books, including 8 in Arabic and 10 in English. His book The Prophet has been translated into nearly 110 languages. He also wrote 11 plays, published posthumously, including 3 unfinished ones, with 6 in English and 5 in Arabic. Poetic experience. Gibran left behind more than 1,000 poems. He was among the first creators to introduce a new approach that eliminated the single subject concept, incorporating a complete life experience presented in poetic language, deriving all its artistic power from the text and its provided aesthetic dimensions based on internal relationships and movements. He employed symbolism strongly, making it a cohesive part of the text and avoiding fragmentation and disintegration. However, what distinguished his poetic experience the most is the revolution he brought about in this expressive style. The areas covered by this revolution can be summarized in the following elements. Gibran broke away from the classical form of poetry in his new poetry, aiming to shift the old poetic structure based on a two-line system, playing with the lengths of lines, and organizing fragmented poetry. He employed poetic imagery that exceeded the boundaries of ancient Arabic rhetoric through its strangeness, bordering on paradox, while the old poets sought straightforward and easily understandable poetry. He used everyday language in his poetry, seeking to shift from the traditional structure based on sophisticated language. He rebelled against the old poetic structure that dominated Arabic poetry, represented by sensual love poetry that sought to satisfy the poet's material instincts from women. In his view, love was romantic, elevating and sanctifying women. He shifted from the prevalent structure in old Arabic poetry, which described nature from an external perspective, to advocate for a new poetic structure representing the romantic vision of nature. He and his romantic peers revered nature, seeing it as embracing and a sanctuary where they found safety. He delved into the human psyche, exploring its depths to reveal its secret. Artistic experience. Gibran was exposed to many artistic schools and visited numerous art exhibitions, then developed his own artistic style and produced many paintings that were used as covers for published books or exhibited in galleries. On March 8, 1898, he opened his first solo exhibition, showcasing his paintings in Boston. On March 8, 1898, he opened his first solo exhibition, showcasing his paintings in Boston. On November 12, 1904, Gibran suffered a major shock when his 40 paintings were burned after exhibiting them at the Harco-Stoid exhibition. In March 1905, he organized an exhibition in Boston featuring symbolic paintings that attracted many visitors and gained praise from critics. During his visit to Paris, 1908 to 1911, he succeeded in accessing the famous annual exhibitions in the French capital, such as the Spring Exhibition, where he exhibited a painting titled Autumn. After that, he prepared paintings that were officially invited to be exhibited at the International Union of Fine Arts in Paris. Gibran's artistic experience was characterized by the majority of his paintings depicting nude bodies, but not for the purpose of sexual arousal. Instead, the nudity in his artwork resembles the nudity of angelic bodies in ancient religious paintings. His philosophy regarding this is revealed in his statement that life is created naked, and the naked body is the truest expression of it. So, when you see me drawing something like a mountain or a waterfall or anything else in the form of nude bodies, I mean that I see everything from this as a part of naked life. The Pen League. After shining in the worlds of literature and art, his creativity continued to flourish after he moved to New York in 1912, where he became a focal point for expatriate writers, founding with them the Pen League in 1920, of which he was the dean. The League included prominent figures like Mikhail Naimi, William Katsephlis, Nada Haddad, Elias Abu Mahdi, Wadi Baraut, Rashid Ayoub, Elias Attallah, Abdelmessi Haddad, and Nipa Ryder. The League aimed to encourage writers and Arabic literature, and its members published newspapers and journals in Arab diaspora countries, including Al-Funan magazine, which focused on literature and was published by Neza Barida. Al-Say newspaper, which dealt with immigrant affairs and was published by Abdelmessi Haddad. Al-Samir magazine, published by Elias Abu Mahdi, focusing on Arab affairs in America. This league greatly supported Gibran Khalil Gibran through its connections and popularity, and he was one of its most active members until it disbanded in 1932, immediately after his death. Gibran began his diverse creative journey as a poor seeker of support and assistance, and he ended it having acquired two riches, intellectual and spiritual wealth in the form of a rich collection of books, poems, drawings, plays, and a respected social position. His works, among the most famous books he authored in Arabic, include Brides of the Meadows, 1906, Broken Wings, 1912, Tear and Smile, 1914, The Storms Novel, 1920, and among the most famous books he authored in English, The Prophet, 1923, The Madman, 1918, Gods of the Earth, 1931, Garden of the Prophet, 1933, Jesus, Son of Man, 1928. His artworks. His productions in painting are estimated to be around 700 artistic pieces, ranging from drawings to watercolor paintings. Most of these were returned to Lebanon after his death. There are 440 paintings in the Gibran Khalil Gibran Museum in his hometown of Pshari, in addition to original drawings and manuscripts. Death. Gibran Khalil Gibran passed away in a New York hospital on April 10, 1931, due to tuberculosis and liver cirrhosis. He was buried in the Morne Benedict Cemetery 3 days after his death, before his wish to be buried in Lebanon could be fulfilled. His remains were transferred there on July 23, 1932, and he was buried in his hometown of Pshari at what is now known as the Gibran Museum.